You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Bork. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today's Tuesday, 17th day of June, 2025. Sorry for the late start. I had some issues with the YouTube streaming software, but it's streaming now. So thanks for joining us, whoever you are, wherever you are. We're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. Now the first broadcast, that's our live training room. So that's private, members only, and those taking their 1-week free trial. If you have not yet taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us at the top of the hour, he'll walk you through it step by step. We'll get your indicators up and indicating today. There's no credit card required, and we have a holiday coming and a weekend coming, but don't worry, you'll still get 5 consecutive trading days on the trial. Again, no credit card required. We want you focusing on what's being taught so that you learn, so that at the end of your 5-day trial, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. When the live training room ends each day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break and come back for this broadcast, the noon broadcast, which is open to the public. That's everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways to join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, because you only have to do it once, go to mytradingiq.com, scroll down the page to where it says noon broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email. It'll automatically log you into our platform. The benefit of doing it that way is you'll have access to the question box right away, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. I'm not able to monitor the YouTube chat until Michael joins us at the top of the hour. Now, I said there's 2 ways. Some days you're going to be out of your office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join live. Some days you'll be busy, can't join live, but want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. But you don't have to remember all that. Just youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 2,800 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to our little corner of the world, it's a great way to get to know who we really are. In fact, thanks to the power of YouTube, you can actually see how we've evolved over the years. You can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more. Now, obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to. But it's a great resource to have at your fingertips, and it lets you know we've been around for a minute or two, or a few. This is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. So we're going to dive right in to where we always do at the beginning. And we're going to talk about our scripture today, Luke 1, verses 1 through 4. Now, the topic of the devotional, which we started yesterday, so you've only missed one day out of 6. What is the Bible, and why should I believe it? So here we go with Luke 1, verses 1 through 4, and I'm sharing it from the New International Version. Beginning in verse 1. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. You see, the New Testament opens with the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were like reporters on the scene as everything was happening. Then along comes a physician named Luke, and he takes those 4 initial Gospels and he kind of puts them all together. So, yesterday we started with what's the Bible? Why should I believe it? Today, isn't it all a matter of interpretation? Today we're asking, do people just make the Bible say what they want it to say? Isn't everything just a matter of interpretation? Isn't the Bible just another power play, a tool of manipulation used by powerful people to control others? For any text to have meaning, and for that meaning to be communicated, the author and reader must engage with the words responsibly and in good faith. You've probably seen examples where this didn't happen, like video clips posted on social media out of context, or statements singled out in headlines just for shock value, or as we call it today, clickbait. These are bad faith interpretations of words. Manipulation, not communication. The Bible is not immune to this treatment. Its words have, in bad faith, been weaponized and used to exert control over others. Yet, just because it's possible to interpret the Bible's words in bad faith doesn't invalidate its every word. Misuses does not invalidate all use. So how then do we interpret the Bible's words correctly? How do we engage responsibly with any written text? A good starting point is the author's intention. In the case of the Bible, some of the writers tell us quite clearly their intention for writing, as today's passages illustrate. Luke, a doctor, explains that he's writing his gospel as a carefully investigated, orderly account of the birth, life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. His intention is to accurately record what's happened for future generations. John, Jesus' closest friend, tells us he wrote his gospel so that we'd believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and that by believing we would find life. Understanding these writers' intentions influences how we interpret and engage with their words. What about the rest of the Bible? How should we understand words written by authors who did not disclose their intention in writing? There are two basic ways: inductive and deductive reasoning. Inductive questions ask whether the text resonates with the world external to it. In other words, do we have to suspend the real world when we dive into the given text, or does the text ring true, making sense of the world as we know it, historically, archaeologically, and in other ways? Deductive reasoning questions whether the text holds together, whether it's internally coherent, whether it contradicts itself, and whether it makes sense as a whole. These interpretation methods help those outside of the Christian faith to consider whether the Gospels or any other part of the Bible is true. We certainly shouldn't try to convince people to believe the Bible simply because we do. It's important for someone to reflect on the Bible for themselves, ask questions, scrutinize motives, and encounter the reality of Jesus in the pages of Scripture. Now, I know many Christians faithfully go to church once a week, and they listen to the pastor recount some story from his life over the past week that helps illustrate the scriptures that are being used in that sermon. Now, that's all fine, but God doesn't want you to live your life vicariously through some other man's experiences. He's your pastor, so I'm sure he's sharing the truth with you. But see, Jesus wants you to have your own personal encounters. It's so important. When we consider the context, character, methods, and motivations of biblical authors, we're able to handle God's truth responsibly and accurately, as opposed to just making the Bible say whatever we want it to say. If we're honest and try to read the Bible with the author's intentions in mind, we discover meaning. More importantly, if we open our hearts to the living God who inspired the Bible, he can speak to us through the Scriptures by the power of the Holy Spirit. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the certainty and clarity of your word. Just as Luke set out to provide an orderly account so that we may know the truth, help us today to walk in that same truth with confidence and faith. Strengthen our hearts to trust the testimony of those who walked with Jesus. And may your Spirit continue to affirm your promises in our lives today. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen and happy Tuesday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. Keep in mind tomorrow's Fed Day, so the day will be some probably sideways posturing, getting ready for whatever the Fed delivers tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And we'll probably see a little more of that this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Then Thursday's a holiday in the middle of the week. So Friday may be kind of a quiet day in and of itself. So let's start with these numbers. We're going to begin with the cash markets, or the indices, as they're called. The Dow's currently down 29 points. The NASDAQ is down 39. S&P 500 is down 12. The Russell 2000 down 6. Like I said, quiet and sideways. In the commodity basket, it's a different story. Crude oil's up $1.68, trading 73.45 last. That's a gain of over 2.25%. A little over it's 2.25% or $1,600 per contract traded. Gold is down $19, trading 33.9820 last. But silver, hold on to your hat, up 84 cents, trading 37.29 last. That's a gain of over 2.25%. Now, when the price of silver moves $1, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. And right now, we're up 84 cents on the session. So you can do the math. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei posted a gain of 225 points. Shanghai dropped a point. The Hang Seng fell 80. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE down 41. The DAX down 264. That's a little over 1%. And the CAC down 58. So we had a mixed day in Asia. It was a red day for the UK. And so far, it is a red Radio Tuesday here in the US of A. So let's go to the world news, if we can. Oh boy, hang on. Where'd my page go? I'll have it back here in just a minute. Today's feeling kind of like a Monday with the late start. But that's okay. We got the patience of Job. Yeah. Okay. All right. Ready to roll. Israel struck the headquarters of Iranian state television in northern Tehran yesterday, setting fire to the facility during a live broadcast, hours after issuing evacuation warnings to residents in the capital. Israel said the building was being used to hide military infrastructure. The claim has not yet been verified independently. But if you watched the news last night, you saw the video, and it's on YouTube, it's all over the internet. A lady newscaster, she was delivering the news, when all of a sudden the building around her started to crumble, and she dashed off the set. Earlier in the day, Israel said it had also attacked the headquarters of Iran's Quds force. I don't think I pronounced that right. Quds. An elite branch of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. The strikes came on the fourth day of missile exchanges between Israel and Iran. Since Israel began its military operation Thursday, at least 224 people have been killed and over 1,400 wounded in Iran, and at least 24 people have been killed and around 600 wounded in Israel as of this writing. Separately, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he wouldn't rule out targeting Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, while the U.S. State Department raised its travel advisory for Israel to its highest level of do not travel. Now, we talked about this morning in the live training room. Some of you in the audience are old enough to remember the Shah of Iran. This is back when Iran had a political leader. And he was sort of a cool, jet-set kind of guy. He was even on an episode of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And it was shortly after that he was booted out of office, and the political leader was replaced with a religious leader, also known as the Ayatollah Khomeini. Okay? So, moving on. You probably know someone in your sphere, friends, family, co-workers, whatever, who has died from an opioid overdose in the last few years. That's when we had wide open borders and fentanyl was just flowing from China to the jungles of Mexico, where they processed it in their plants, pressed it into pills to look just like the real thing, and of course just drove it across the border. Nobody was stopping them. Well, all 50 states and U.S. territories have agreed to a $7.4 billion settlement with Purdue Pharma and its owners yesterday over the company's role in the opioid crisis. You know, there's a couple of great movies about this, and some podcasts. If you don't know the whole story, how this came to be. Originally, let me leave that out because we're already running behind. If approved, the payout will resolve thousands of outstanding lawsuits, but still allow future litigation. It's the largest settlement of its kind surrounding the decades-long epidemic. Purdue released OxyContin, a powerful prescription painkiller, in the 1990s. The drug has since been blamed for fueling the opioid epidemic, resulting in over 645,000 U.S. deaths since 1999. Purdue filed for bankruptcy in 2019 to settle lawsuits, accusing it of downplaying the drug's addictive nature. In the medical journals and magazines that you would find in a doctor's office, full-page ads, new miracle painkiller, non-addictive. Yeah, well, we know that ain't true. Last year, the Supreme Court overturned a $6 billion settlement on the grounds that bankruptcy courts cannot prevent future lawsuits. By removing that stipulation, the new deal clears the way for Purdue to complete bankruptcy proceedings. The money will be used to fund state-run addiction treatment and prevention programs. And if you've ever been to Paris, you probably visited the Louvre. Well, thousands of confused visitors waited outside the Louvre in Paris yesterday after a staff strike abruptly shut down the world's most visited museum. It's where the Mona Lisa hangs. The employees protest against overwhelming crowds, understaffing, and deteriorating infrastructure. Follows mounting frustrations over mass tourism across Europe. And now to Wall Street. The business community has some clear wins in a Senate version of President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, which was released yesterday, but it isn't getting everything it wants. The Senate Finance Committee released its 549-page blueprint yesterday. It contains significant changes from what the House passed in May, especially on taxes, Medicaid funding, and clean energy. The changes are still being digested by the business community, but one proposal is already being embraced: a Senate-side push to make corporate tax deductions permanent for things like interest payments and new capital investments. One idea that may not be quite so popular is the survival of an idea for a so-called revenge tax that would allow the government to levy new duties on foreign nations and their businesses. That idea was introduced in the House version and sparked fears of reduced foreign investment. The version released yesterday by the Senate pares back the tax but doesn't eliminate it entirely as corporate lobbyists had requested. Them lobbyists, boy, they're just making a killing. Always have. I guess always will. X, formerly known as Twitter, the CEO yesterday says that the social media giant once again has the wind at its back. Linda Yaccarino, the CEO, told Yahoo Finance at the Cannes Lion Festival of Creativity that the platform is going through a historic evolution and has 96% of our advertisers coming back and a tidal wave of new advertisers coming in. Never bet against Trump or Elon, even when they're feuding. From Bloomberg, oil rose today as comments from President Donald Trump reined in speculation about a quick end to the conflict between Israel and Iran, keeping the market on edge about potential crude supply disruptions in the Middle East. Man, we're going to solve that with the drill, baby drill. A prolonged conflict between Israel and Iran may do more than rattle energy markets. One argument on Wall Street is that it could push the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates sooner than expected. Yay. A sustained rise in oil prices could cause the Fed to strike a more dovish tone, according to an Oxford economics economist. That's because historically sudden spikes in oil prices tend to cause only a temporary rise in inflation that the Fed usually overlooks. But with the economy already softening, not true, a persistent surge could pose a bigger threat to growth and jobs than to inflation itself. Man, if Jerome is forced into lowering the rates, it would be like having to pluck out his own eye. Also from Bloomberg, the Trump administration is discussing policies that would make it harder and more expensive for pharmaceutical companies to advertise directly to patients, and a move that could disrupt more than $10 billion in annual ad spending. Man, those pharmaceutical commercials on TV, if it's a 60-second commercial, they spend like 10 seconds telling you what the drug can do, and the other 50 seconds telling you what body parts are going to fall off and what organs are going to shut down, and it's unbelievable. More from Bloomberg. Confidence among U.S. home builders fell in June to the lowest level since December of 2022, with potential buyers deterred by high mortgage rates and anxiety about tariffs in the economy. Come on, it's mostly the interest rates. Jerome, it's time to get off the pot. And I don't mean stop smoking marijuana. You know what I mean. With the TikTok deadline to sell its U.S. operations now just 2 days away, a new decentralized social media app launched its beta to the public today. OWN is the latest alternative to TikTok, featuring a swipeable feed for not just short videos, but also text posts and images, as well as other features you'd expect, like direct messaging. Now, 1 month after the House passed its version of a reconciliation bill, Senate Republicans released their take on the bill yesterday, as I said. But the Senate Finance Committee's language would take a sledgehammer to some parts of the Renewable Friendly Inflation Reduction Act, while sparing others. Solar, wind, and hydrogen bear the brunt of the impact. Well, some places the sun don't always shine like it does here in Phoenix. And sometimes the wind doesn't blow like it doesn't a lot of the time here in Phoenix. On the other side of the ledger, geothermal, nuclear, hydropower, and long-duration energy storage emerge relatively unscathed. Carbon capture ended up somewhere in the middle. And last, Oracle wants to help aspiring defense contractors make deals with the Pentagon. On Tuesday, the cloud computing giant introduced the Oracle Defense Ecosystem, which it says is designed to connect technology companies with government clients to help them meet federal compliance standards. National security teams are often unable to access the latest cloud and AI technologies, Oracle said, pointing to complex procurement processes, strict qualification standards, and the relationship networks required. So there you have it for the national and financial news. So now we turn to the local news. Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. It's not just E-minis, it's also crude, gold, silver. Over the last 359 weeks, we have issued over 19,950 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Valerie did the recap this morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. I have put out a few alerts since then, so she'll update the recap this afternoon as she does every afternoon. But at the time she did the recap, since the markets opened this past Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued a total of 36 logic alerts, still waiting on the outcome of 14. That gave her 22 actionable alerts, of which 1 or 5% would have been stopped out, again based on market structure and the simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, the logic alerts, yes, you can trade them, but the real purpose is to teach you how to read the charts, okay? No matter what profession you choose, you've got to be able to read whatever the books are that teach you how to do that job, medical books, law books, whatever the case. But to become a trader, you got to learn a new language. A language that has no words, no sentences, no paragraphs, and no punctuation. That's the purpose of the Logic 247 alerts. And we're only about 50 alerts now away from that big 20,000 round number. So please, make sure you use them to learn how to read the chart. Got to do it if you're going to become a trader. Now, 359 weeks is a very long time. But long before, years before, we had Logic 247. We had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. They're different. The logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is our night session and vice versa. But the CTAs, they're different. Now the logic alerts, they have an entry price, an initial target, usually additional targets, and a final trade to target. But as you can see, the CTAs are just targets, and They're published 5 minutes before the Globex open. So we all know today is the Tuesday session, but the Tuesday session began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So 5 minutes before the markets open, all of our traders and trial members had all of these targets. The S&P 500, the ES, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So when we go through those individual markets and you see those CTA targets, just remember, all of our people had those targets 5 minutes before the market opened. So here we go to where we always go at this point in the broadcast. The S&P 500 Emini Futures daily chart. It's called the bellwether, because wherever the S&P goes, the other major indices, the Dow, the Russell, the NQ, they're going to follow. Sometimes they get out ahead, sometimes they lag behind, but where the S&P goes, that's where the others are going as well. Now, we drew in this back when it was the M contract. We've now rolled forward to the U contract. Now, this potential major resistance was based off these highs right here. Okay, so we knew months in advance that that was going to be potential resistance, and it has been for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trading days so far. Now, the market sold off earlier, they've recovered a bit, but how we close today will be very important. I'm fairly confident that we're going to return to the BBC, the green line, before we take out this major resistance area, and then right above that we've got a bearish cross. That's where the red line gets below the green line, and when you have a bearish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good resistance, at least the first time up. Now the green line, it's called the BBC, it stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and expect lower prices. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and expect higher prices. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. We call it the BBC. Now, what's really interesting is when price pulls back to the BBC, like it did here and here and here, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. Now, once we got above the BBC, in other words, we came out of the downtrend, went into an uptrend, the pullback held, the pullback held, the pullback held, and here we sit. Again, today's pretty quiet and sideways, awaiting the Fed announcement tomorrow. So you can probably expect more of the same tomorrow morning. Institutional traders, the ones who actually move price, they look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts the way you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. Why? Has everything to do with account size. They can stay in a profitable position longer than you or I would be comfortable with, and they can endure a much deeper drawdown than you or I would be comfortable with. So I encourage you to spend 2 minutes with the daily chart of whatever you're getting ready to trade. Futures, stocks, crypto, Forex, ETFs, it doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. Support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. So by spending 2 minutes with the daily chart, number one, you get a free look over the shoulder of the deep pockets that move price. So you can kind of get an idea of what they're up to. And you're able to identify areas of potential resistance way out into the future, and areas of potential support like the BBC. And if price were to drop, well, we got a bullish cross down here right at the 50% reverse fib. Now, once we take out this resistance, and eventually we will, I'm going to flip the fibs around. These are reverse fibs based on the downtrend that we were in. Oh, and because this is the U contract, I forgot to bump that up. Can I get it? That's pretty close. Let's lower that candle. Come on. Where's my pop-up? The lows 48.77.50. Yeah. 48.77.50. Maybe we can get a little closer. It's hard on the daily to get it exact. Yep, 76.25. That'll work. Okay. Now, all the alerts, both the logic and the CTAs, are created on the 30-minute chart. Nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's just a time frame I chose years ago. They say if it's not broke, leave it alone. I have. This is the opening candle last night. Now remember, our people had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. We dropped below the BBC. That means we're bearish. And we came right down to the short target. See these lows from yesterday? There you go. Support will send the market looking for resistance. Resistance will send the market looking for support, which it found right at this low right here from yesterday. Powerful stuff. Support now sends us looking for resistance, which we found at red and falling. Then we just kind of consolidated. Finally, buyers came in, pushed us up to the BBC. Down we go. Remember, the pullback holds more often than not, just like it did there and there. And that sent us down. You see that low right there? There's actually a double bottom there now. We drew this window of opportunity yesterday on the live broadcast. If you missed yesterday's live broadcast, you can go watch it on YouTube and you can see me draw in this window of opportunity. And it filled off the London Open this morning. Came right down to the bottom of the window. Now that window was roughly 60.48 down to 60.45. 3 points. You only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. Support at the bottom of the window. At the bottom of the window has to do with right there. You see where the black step line got on the left side of blue and climbing? Okay, that's an important price, important area. We now have a double bottom there, so that window filled twice. Support will send the market looking for resistance. We got above the BBC, but then the pullback held. And then I posted this chart in the discussion group, and I said, guys, be aware. We've got a bearish cross that happened early in the session last night. And remember what I said. When you have a bearish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good resistance. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Now how cool is that? It's pretty cool. Rhetorical. On the Dow. Here's where we opened last night. Oh, maybe I should say the vertical lines separate today, Tuesday. Here's Monday. Back over here is Friday. Okay. Yesterday on the live broadcast, I drew in this long window of opportunity and this short window. And in the second 30-minute candle after the markets opened last night, we filled the window beautifully and we hit the short target, which is that low right there. We bounced back up through the window, filled it again, and then we traded down to, get out of the way, right here. That's that low. Support sends us back to resistance, the pullback held. Sent us down to the BBC, support, which sent us back to the BBC, resistance, the pullback held. And then we dropped down to here. That would be these lows right here. See that? Support sends us looking for resistance, back to support, back to resistance. We got through the BBC, we hit the weekly trading zone, pretty much to the tick. That's resistance, which sent us to support at blue and climbing. And then you see the bearish cross here. Resistance, resistance, we spiked it, but it's pretty much held as resistance, just like the ES. Now the weekly trading zones, they're published Monday morning for our members at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published Monday morning, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. When price rallies up to a weekly zone, we expect resistance till proven otherwise. When price drops to a zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. Now, this zone is 42.17 / 42.720. So we missed it by 8 ticks, the zone. And zones are an area, okay? All right. Go to the Russell. I drew these two windows of opportunity live on yesterday's broadcast, a long one and a short one. And last night, shortly after the open, we filled the window and hit the short target. That bounced us back up to resistance at red and falling, the step line and the BBC. That's resistance times 3. So that sent us back down here to where? Previous bullish cross. We expect that to be good support. It was. Pushed us up to the bottom of that window and the target. When you trade through a short target and price pulls back, that will often become resistance. That sent us down to support, back up to resistance, then we dropped all the way to the weekly trading zone, 21.17 / 21.18. Support's going to send the market looking for resistance. After a leg and a retracement, we got through the BBC. Now we're back on the north side of the short target. But right here we got a bearish cross. It's right there. Okay? So we got oh so close, we didn't quite touch it. And what's that doing? Sending price back to the BBC. The NQ. I drew this short window of opportunity on yesterday's live broadcast. And as you can see, this was the opening candle last night. We came down to the zone, support, bounced us up to the BBC, resistance. And when you got red and falling overhead like that, you should expect that pullback to hold. And it sent us right down to the short target. We even spiked it just a little bit to line up with these lows from yesterday. That is market structure. Support sends us to resistance at the zone in the BBC. That sends us down to support at blue and climbing, back up to the BBC and the zone, back down to the short target, back up to the BBC, down to support, up to resistance, down to support. And now these guys right here, okay, this was the first time up, and the bearish cross was beautiful resistance all across here. And over here, we've spiked it a little bit. But look where we are. We're back below the BBC, heading back to the short target. If we trade through the short target, look for potential support right here. And then here, 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 and here. Remember, this is Tuesday, this is Monday. These weekly zones came out Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance. When it drops to a zone, we expect support. Crude oil. Yesterday, I drew this long window of opportunity on the live broadcast, and we gapped lower on the open, and buyers came in and drove us up through the long target. Now, just to give you an idea, this candle opened at 71.05 and ran up to 72.45. That's $1,400 per contract traded. We continued on to the zone and we filled the long window of opportunity. Resistance sends us back to the BBC support, which sends us back to the zone resistance, back to the BBC. Had a little outlier right here, okay, just enough to fill that gap. Support sends us back to resistance at the zone, which sends us back to support at the BBC. We overcome the zone, then we retraced, and the pullback held. It held, it held, it held. It holds over here. It held, it held. Just remember, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't, whether it's pulling down from above or pulling up from below. We trade every market exactly the same. The short window I drew live on yesterday's broadcast actually filled before the session ended yesterday. This was the opening candle. We ran up to the BBC and the zone. That's resistance times 2. But the next 30-minute candle got us through. And where did we find resistance? A little bit shy of where I would have expected it. That happens. Resistance sends us looking for support. We didn't quite make it to the short target. It's 33.90 and the low was 91.3. So we missed it by a little bit. Support sends us back to resistance at the zone and the BBC, which sends us back here. Buyers came in a little early, pushed us back up to the zone, resistance, resistance. Now where are we? We're below the BBC. So we've hit that short target again and again. And that window from yesterday, while it did fill before the markets closed, it filled again last night. Multiple times. Market loves to repeat itself. Silver. Big day on silver, almost $5,000 per contract traded. Now yesterday I drew this short window and this long window, okay? Now at the time I had last week's zones on the chart. Otherwise I would have drawn this window differently, but look what we did. You only need 2 pennies in silver to get your goal for the day. So we came down to the zone, support, which bounced us up to the BBC, resistance, which sent us down all the way to the short target, filling the window completely. Support sends us looking for resistance, which we found at the long target, sent us back to the short target. Support sends us to resistance. We get a leg, a retracement, a leg and a retracement. And then this monster move, almost $5,000 per contract traded. Now where are we headed? Back to the zone, most likely, and the BBC. Question is, will the pullback hold? We'll see. And Michael is here, so
Yes,
here's
I
one
am here.
last look at the daily chart. Michael's going to give us a recap of everything that happened in the live training room this morning, then do a little live trading on the TradingView platform. And when he's done, I'll come back and wrap things up with our good word for the day. So if you're ready.
Oh, I am ready. I'm ready. I thought you were going to take one more look at the daily chart.
I did.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Sorry about that.
No problemo. Okay, it looks good.
Excellent. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, the 17th day of June, 2025. Now, if you have not taken trial with us yet, go here to mytradingiq.com. Click on the purple button right there. There's no credit card required for the trial. When you click on that button, it's going to bring you to this registration page where all that we ask for is your email, your phone number. Down at the bottom, gives you TradingView login ID. If you're going to take the trial, you want to get the charts running, and you need to have TradingView to do that. All right, just click on this link right here. I mean, you really only need a couple of indicators to do what we're doing in the room that morning. Click on this link right here. The only way to get them is to do that. Give us the TradingView login ID that you end up with. All right, it's either user ID, username, login ID, whatever it is. Give it to us. All right, hit register. When you do that, we'll know you took the trial and we'll get you going. So today we had a pretty good day. We did stop out quite a bit, and I didn't trade. I didn't feel like I traded all that much. But if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. So today is the 17th day of June, 2025. As I said, we're down 24 on the NQ, plus 44 on the Russell, plus 40 on gold, and plus 1 on the ES. That puts us at 512.5 on the morning session. Now, during the day, on the Russell, we ended at the high. On the NQ, this is actually the high of the day on the NQ for us. Gold, our high of the day on the gold, we were actually up to 50 at one point on the gold. We ended up with 40. And the Russell, 44 was the high of the day on the Russell. So we're off the high of the day there. We're at the high of the day there. We're at the high of the day there. And on the ES, we were at 13 ticks at one point. We stopped out a couple of times. So we had some stop outs today. It happens. Today took 13 minutes and 3 trades. That took a while too. I did have opportunity to get it sooner than that, but I messed it up. And so I ended up 13 minutes and 3 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $1,325 with 10 contracts on. And we took a total of 24 trades this morning. So on the month now on the month, we're up $8,492 over 10 business days, averaging $849 per contract per 2-hour business day. On the year, we're now up $148,962. That is with one contract. Over 101 business days, averaging $1,474 per contract per 2-hour business day. Now, if you were to quit trading when you get the goal for the day, that means when you get $100 in this column. If you were to quit trading when you got that, you end to add one contract per month, one contract for every $2,000 in profit that you want. Or it should work out to be about one contract a month, assuming you get your goal every day. So far, you know, this has to equal 12,000 by the end of the month to be able to add another contract. But so far this year, you'd only had to work 12.61 hours if you did it just like I did. And you'd be up $55,137, starting with one contract in the last 6 months, working your way up, quitting when you get the goal for the day. So for those 12.61 hours, you'd be up $55,000. So you'd be averaging $4,370 per hour. Okay. You see something new on the chart here. Now, I don't know how many of you were there this morning, and how many of you, well, all right, a bunch of you were there this morning. But anyway, what this is, you know, when I draw the retracement lines, you know, when I pick the swing high and swing low, if I get rid of this, right? I get rid of that on all of these. And when you, I guess I'm going to go through all the charts here and show you all the trades in just a minute, but I just wanted to explain the new thing. Now, what I do is I look at the swing high and the swing low and find the middle of it, right? Swing high and swing low and find the middle of it. Now, I can do it without really looking at all this stuff down here, but I know everybody uses the tools, and the issue is knowing when to pick the swing high. You know, why is it this swing high and not this swing high, or this here, or not this one right here, or this here, or, you know, when it comes out of the overbought until it goes back into the overbought, the high and low in that period is what you're going to be using. All right. And so what I created is this thing that figures that out for you. From the high here down to the low here, the midpoint in between there is what you want to be trading right here. Okay. Then from the high here to the low here, the midpoint in between there is where you want to be trading. You see? From the high here to the low here, the midpoint in between there. From the high here to the low there, the midpoint in between there, which we never really got to. But you see, that's what this is, this thing that I created. And I did actually add a midpoint to it. So you could use that tool as well, but I'm still working it out. Nobody has access to this yet but me. All right, so the trades. Let's get into it with, we'll start out with the NQ. We only had a few trades, well, 4 trades over here on the NQ today. And we stopped out on the very first one. We were minus 60 at that point. Then we picked up 4 ticks on that to get us to minus 56. Then we picked up 8 ticks. And then we picked up, I don't know exactly what we ended up with, but we ended up with minus 24 overall between these two. The first one was 8 ticks. I wrote it down backwards. So the first one was 8 ticks. And that brought us down to minus 48. And then the next one was 24 ticks. And that brought us down to minus 24. That's the way that was. Ooh. That's the way it worked out. All right, this one here was an aggressive trade. At the midpoint here, I went long. It ended up gapping down here, and I went long, and I got 8 ticks out of it. Before it closed up and gave us the conservative trade, because it up close was on this one right here, right? I got the 8 ticks on that bar, and I was out of the trade, and then it closed up right here and gave us a conservative trade where it came out of the oversold, so I took it again right there, and I got 24 ticks on that. That is how it worked this morning. Does anybody have any questions yet? No questions? See if I throw this on there. One of the questions, Bob K this morning said, is that a Donchian channel? And it's not. But for those of you guys who know what a Donchian channel is, it basically does what I'm looking at here. It figures out the highs and the lows and the midpoint going back, you know, X number of bars. But this is much more sophisticated than that because it figures out the high and the low, but it resets every time you come out of the overbought or the oversold, depending on whether you're above or below the YBR. Okay, so if you're below the YBR, it's looking for it to come out of the overbought, and then it resets it. And if you're above the YBR, it's looking for it to come out of the oversold, and then it resets it. Okay, so it is much more than a Donchian channel. Those guys who know what a Donchian channel is. And it's even got in here. You see, it's at the 50% level. And so what that's figuring out is the 50% level between, well, in this case here, it would be the high and the low between here and here, the 50% level between there and there. There and right there. So this 50% level right here. All right, now the problem with this is that it moves up with every bar, moves up or down with every bar. Or I kind of want it to go sideways until you get a new high or a new low in place. I want it to go sideways. So that's the part that's why I got it shut off because I'm still working on it. Fix that up. So it gives you a sideways line, kind of like this one here. Until you get a new high or a low, then this line's going to stay sideways, right? Until this changes, then that line's going to stay. But when you put it back on, just let me show you. When you put it back on, right here, where it established that low is where the midpoint is. Right there, you can see, and that's what it shows it right there. That's the midpoint that you're looking for. Okay. Anyway, right now, it just makes it easier to draw the retracement lines. Right, so I showed you the trades here on the NQ, and now we'll go here to the ES. I'll do the trades this way. On the ES, we had quite a few trades on the ES today. Our second trade is where we got the goal. Right? Maybe our third trade is where we got third trade. We had a break even right there. Now I should have picked up some profit on that, but I didn't. And then we had a +9 on this one. We had a +9 right there, and that is where we got the goal. I guess it was our second trade. We had a +9 right there, and that's where we got the goal. Then we had a +4 there to get us to 13. Then we stopped out, brought us down to 3. Then we stopped out again and brought us down to -7. So on this one here, that was a straight stop out. This one here, I should have my stop at break even. That was kind of a mistake. Right, then here we went from -7 to -1, so we picked up 6 ticks there, and here we picked up 2 ticks, went from -1 to +1. And that's where we ended it today. Now during the break, you can see there was a lot of movement in here. Looks like places you might have wanted to trade, there aren't too many. It was flipping the YBR around quite a bit. Right in here would have been the first place that I might have been interested in trading. Right here, possibly up here. This is 100% retracement right here. Okay. You wouldn't have done that because this didn't make it. You wouldn't have done this because this didn't make it. This wouldn't have been okay trade. This, and this, but you wouldn't have done this one because this didn't make it. So it was a little bit tricky, and now this is the Russell, and we're actually positive on the Russell today after having 3 consecutive days of being negative on the Russell. We're actually positive, and part of our goal for the day was the first trade on the Russell today. Right here, we picked up 2 ticks on that one, and then 20 ticks on that to get us to 22, and then 7 ticks there to get us to 29, and then a break even, and 15 ticks there to get us to 44. And that is where we ended it with Russell. Right? You can see some spots in here that would have been nice spots to trade. And if I throw this on there, you can see what this helps you with. Those of you guys who don't know, what this helps you with is choosing where you have to start from with the line. Right? When you're going down like this, you just start from the last one at the top, you go down to the current low. Right? You start from the last one at the top and you go down to the current low. That's all you have to do. I know you guys don't have access to this yet, but once I do figure out, get it exactly the way I want it, I'll make it part of something. Okay. It just simplifies the drawing the retracement lines for you so you can see the best places to trade. Okay. That was it on the Russell. We ended up with +44. And on the gold, now on the gold, let's blow this up. Take a look at this guy. Gold had a lot of movement today. A lot of movement. Go back all the way here. Right, all the way here is where I need to be. Our first trade on the gold, we had a break even. The next trade, we had another break even. Then we had a +10 finally. Then we had a +5 to get us to 15, break even. A +10 to get us to 25, then a +25 to get us to 50. And then we stopped out, brought us down to 35, and then we got a +5 to get us to 40. That was at the end of the session this morning. So just looking at this, you look for the leg down, and then you look for a retracement of the leg down. A leg down, a retracement for the leg down. Leg up, and a retracement of the leg up. Leg up, and a retracement of the leg up. Okay, we should put this on there. It shows you all the places you should start from. So for the leg, this leg right here, you start from down here, you go up to the high. This leg right here, you start from down here, go up to the high. Well, first you go up to here, I guess. And then it pulled back. You wouldn't end up with the trade here, but that's what you would do. Okay. And then that's all you have to do. It's pretty straightforward. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you guys because introducing the retracement levels like that, it added a lot of thought process to the whole thing. And so I want to minimize that for you if I can, as much as I can. All right. So I'll see if I can get this fixed out so that it stays flat until you get a new high or low. Okay. Let's see. That's it. That's it. So if you haven't taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. No credit cards required for the trial. Once you do that, on this registration page, give us all the information that we need here. Okay, down here at the bottom, gives you TradingView login ID. Just give us all the information we need to get from you there so we can enable your indicators, get them indicating on your charts for you. Okay. All right. So, sorry, I have thoughts like code running through my head right now to make that work the way that I want it to work, and I'm gonna have to go right to work on that when I'm done. So what we're looking for here right now on the gold, right? We've come out of the oversold, we've run all the way up here, and now we need to retrace down to probably right about here is what we're looking for. Retracement to about here, right? 50% of this leg up is what we're looking for. Okay. So we want to retrace down to there. Right. That's what we want. Okay. So what I have to tell this thing to do is once it's established this, you see it's right there at the 50% retracement level, which is perfect. Pentagon sends warplanes and an aircraft carrier to the Middle East. That's Iran, Israel. Regis. Okay. So right here, as it pulls back down here, we want this to stay flat. All right. I just went up a hair, so it's going to bring it up just a little bit, but it should be pretty close to the same. As it pulls back, see right there, it went up. I don't want it to go up. I want it to stay flat. I'll work on that. I'll try to get it just right for you. But the way it's working out right now, we want to see a pullback down here toward the middle. All right, we want it to hit the middle and bounce off of it. This goes into the oversold. It's going to have to go into the oversold and go flat. Because the down close on this bar is going to bring you right about here. So the down close on the next bar would bring you right about here. And the down close on the bar after that, or the up close on the bar after that, would take you out of the oversold and give you an opportunity to trade. Okay. Do you all see that? Does that make sense to everyone? Excuse me. I'm losing my voice.
Perfect sense to me.
Good. Good. So if I can get that midpoint to just go flat, like it stays flat right here, then that would be a really useful tool, I think. I'll figure it out. I have code ideas running through my head right now. Probably won't take too long. All right. So if I take this off, you see, it kept it perfectly right in there. It's doing a good job of figuring that part out.
Unfortunately, it didn't make it all the way down into the oversold.
It did not. It didn't make it into the oversold, so it's gonna. Well, right now it's going to expand it. It's going to bring that up, expand it, move the midpoint up a little bit. That's what it's doing. So you put this back on here, expanded it just a little bit, and moved the midpoint up just a little bit. And so it's trying again right now, but it didn't make it here. So it needs to go down, hit the oversold, and come back out.
The big takeaway here, guys, is that this is rules-based trading. So you'll learn the rules in a week or two. Then comes the tough part, developing the patience to wait for everything to come together so that you have a legitimate trade opportunity. Because I know we all just want to click the mouse, make some money, and go thump our chest. But we're going to give you the tools, we're going to give you the knowledge, but you got to bring the patience and self-discipline to the table.
Yes. Yeah, we can't give you that part. And like right now, we have nothing developing anywhere. The closest thing we have to a trade is the gold right here. And that, the way that's going to work out, this is going to give us a down close. It's going to put it in the oversold when it registers there. Okay, so we put it in the oversold, but it's nowhere near the midpoint. So you don't have a trade here yet. So what we need is another down close that's going to go sideways in the oversold. And then possibly the bar after that will come down, hit the midpoint, give you an up close with a trade, possibly. Okay, so you just gotta wait it out, let it do what it's supposed to do. Right, like this one here on the Russell, it just finally came from the overbought all the way down to the oversold. Now it needs to get up there into the overbought again and drop out to give us a trade. What I would like to see it do down here is go sideways a little bit, put in a lower swing. That's what I'd like to see it do. But you see, this is turning into nothing here right now. You see what it did right here? It just reset the low level right here. Because it made the full cycle, so it reset the whole thing. So now I'll take that 50% off of there, so you're not thrown off by that. Get rid of this for now too, so you're not thrown off by that. Because now it's gone the full cycle from here down to here. So now this is what you're looking at from right here to here. Right, the way it's outlined, exactly the way it's outlined right here, from the bottom right here to the top right there. That's what you're looking at. So now on the pullback, the first down close is going to put it right about here. It'll get down to about here. And the next down close will get it down below. See, right about there. And the next down close will get it down below here. Because the first one gapped down, it actually hit the midpoint. This isn't coming together in any good way. You're in the oversold right here on an up close right now. It could possibly give you the up close right there at the midpoint. Because this is so jammed up, it's not really good looking in there. It's not easy and obvious is what it's not. Right, the easy and obvious. I think there was some over here on the ES during the break. This is easy and obvious. You know, where you see this down to, oops, see this from here down to there, and the retracement comes back, it hits the midpoint, and it gives you the down close, comes out of the overbought at the same time. That's the easy and obvious right there. That's the kind of trade you want. This one over here is all congested. You don't really want to take that trade. This is starting to come together over here on the ES again right now. You'd be drawing from here, right? It's pretty clear. You got to draw from up there right now down to here. So the easy and obvious would be a pullback up into here.
Seven minutes left with Michael here, so if you got questions, type them into the chat box, okay, or the question box.
I hadn't even
Whether you're on YouTube or logged into our platform, either way, you got a question, ask. That's how you learn. You ask questions, you gain knowledge, takes you to the next level, and you have more sophisticated questions.
We encourage the questions too.
Oh, yes, it's never an interruption. It's the purpose of what we do.
It is. It is indeed. Now, over here, this is almost a spot to trade right here on the NQ. You could actually trade it there a little bit aggressively. The open is right here just below the midpoint. So on the up close right here that went into the overbought, it was right there just below the midpoint. You know, if you're really searching for a trade, you can do that. Easy and obvious. You know, this did 100% retracement right here. It's not easy or obvious off the 100% retracement, so I'd rather have them off the 50% retracement. But that's what you're looking at. Okay, so now you're actually hitting the midpoint over here on the NQ. So now if you got a down close on this bar right here on the NQ, that would be a conservative trade. That would be an easy and obvious conservative trade. Right, a down close of this bar right now on the NQ. The ES is just about got it right here too. All right, you see that's kind of what we were looking for there on the ES. Pull back up to the midpoint. So you could short the ES right in here. You could short the NQ on a down close right in there. Here's the ES and here's the NQ. Doing the stop to break even on the NQ. And I'm trailing in profit on the NQ. Hang on.
What a beauty. Yeah.
And the ES too. The stop to break even on that. I'm going to start locking in profit on that. There's 8 ticks on that. That's $1,000 on that. And on this one, I had some profit locked in. I don't know exactly where I entered. Or, you know what? I didn't even enter on that. It didn't fill me on the NQ. Okay, I didn't lock in anything on the NQ. But I got 8 ticks on the ES. It didn't fill me on the NQ. But the NQ was a great trade too. The down close right here at the midpoint on the NQ moved down really nicely. And right here on the ES, down close off the midpoint right there, moved down really nicely.
One right contract, that was $100. But Michael's got 10 contracts on, so it's $1,000.
That's right.
You don't start at 10. You start in demo till you learn the strategy and put together 10 consecutive days in a row. Then you go live with 1. And then you earn enough money with 1 contract to add a 2nd contract. And then you earn enough money with 2 contracts to add a 3rd contract. That's how you get to 10. 1 at a time.
That's how it works. Again and again and again.
Since 2008?
Yeah, for a really long time. I was thinking about that this morning. I don't know why. There's something I was thinking about this morning. Oh, the Donchi channels. That's what it was. That's what brought me back to the Donchi channels. It was the first Mr. Reeves I was ever involved with. His name was Terry, though. And he was from the South, so he was from Tennessee. Georgia. Different Reeves, probably. That's like 2002, 2003, something like that.
We get an email every month from that DNA company. And it says, we found new people you're related to. So my wife's asked me yesterday, do you know Mary Lou so-and-so? Nope. She's like my 5th cousin. Probably twice removed. I don't know. But how it works.
Yeah, I don't have any idea.
Just keep in mind, if you submit your DNA to one of these companies to find out your rich history and where your people came from and all that, make sure you haven't done any heinous crimes in your past.
Yeah, or you don't plan to do any heinous crimes.
You don't plan to do
DNA around.
Yeah, because they will find you.
Yep. Yeah, that is now public knowledge. As soon as you do that, that is out there. It can be.
And those companies do make their databases available to law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
At 23andMe went bankrupt, which blew my mind.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, Jada did that, and she got a letter saying it was going to take a while, and then she got a thing like the next week. Mm-hmm. That was the results. She got a letter saying it was going to take like 3 to 4 weeks, and then she got the results next week, and they seemed so off. They didn't seem accurate at all.
Really? You mean like where her people came from originally and stuff like that?
Yeah, she's 70% British, and then there's nobody in her family that she knows of at any level that she knows that is British.
Do they send her a monthly? Well, if they're out of business, I guess they don't. But I think some other company bought their database.
That's scary. Your DNA is for sale. I think they lost hers, and I don't think they gave her the right results. Because it,
But my wife gave it to me, Gabe, and Emily one year for our Christmas present. Mm-hmm. And when the results came back, it immediately identified Gabe and Emily as half brother and half sister. They have the same mom, but right? Different dads.
Well, it's good that it got that right.
By the way, my children are adopted. My wife wasn't fooling around. So, just for the record.
I know that.
I know you know that.
Everybody else doesn't know that. I know. Well, it looks like that's going to be it, guys. Did we even place a trade? We did. We placed 2 trades.
Yeah.
One on the ES. I'm sorry. We've got 8 ticks on the ES. I tried to place a trade on the NQ. I put one of those over there, but we didn't actually get that trade.
But here's another takeaway. You only need 1 good trade a day.
Hmm.
Like, this isn't designed so you can trade all day. I mean, maybe once you really get the hang of it and you've had so many consistent days you can't remember you when you didn't get your goal. Okay, so maybe you want to trade a few times a day. But just beware, no matter how long you've been at it, you can be up 5 grand on the day, and if you keep trading, by the close, you could be down more than 5 grand.
Yes.
I know.
Every time
Been
you
there,
trade,
done that.
money's at risk every time you trade. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up then. Let me go out here and say, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on this button right here. There's no credit card required. It's going to be to the registration page. Just fill out the form. Once you fill out the form, you'll be sent a link to get into the morning session. Well, what is that nice? You'll be sent a link to get into the morning session. And we'll be able to enable the indicators for you. Get your indicators indicating on your charts. All right. Give us that TradingView login ID.
And when you take the trial, you're not just getting access to the live training room. We treat you just like you were a full-fledged member, a passport holder, for 5 consecutive trading days. You get to taste everything we have to offer, even the one-on-one mentoring.
You get that too.
So at the end of your trial, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision whether or not trading is right for you. No credit card required.
That is correct. All that stuff is correct. All right. And with that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in the Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. It's on its way.
All right. Recap of the morning session.
Today it took 13 minutes and 3 trades to get $1,325 with 10 contracts on.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I know some of you tuned in late. My feelings aren't hurt much. Price market selling off a bit. Okay, remember at the beginning of the broadcast we had a wick here, but now we're taking out, or we're approaching the overnight lows. I think we've already taken them out. Now we identified this potential major resistance months ago. That's the beauty of learning how to read the chart. Okay. Now the potential major support, that's the BBC, but below that we got that. Got that. And then the big boy, it's down here, the bullish cross. Now, above this current potential resistance, which is held, now again, we identified this months in advance, but for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trading days, it has held as major resistance. Now, for those tuned in late, I did a walkthrough of each one of the markets in depth in a granular style. Okay, this live window drawn on yesterday's broadcast, it filled last night right here, and then it filled again, and we got red and falling overhead, so price is probably headed back at least to the bottom of this window, and then to here, and then to the zone. Although we are printing a green candle, but the black step line is resistance. The BBC, of course, is resistance. And with red and falling overhead, this green candle may be short-lived. Now the Dow, we drew this in live yesterday during the broadcast. You know what? Let's see if there's anything worth drawing today. Well, we know we got to get up above this area that we've already touched. Got to get above that. That's a little wide. Okay, so what are we talking here? 60.84 to 60.88. That's 4 points. You only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. But what if the market continues to sell off. We've got to take out this low. Now, see this low and this low, this double bottom, was right at the bottom of this window that I drew yesterday on the live broadcast. So, for your consideration, I'm going to go all the way back to a window that I originally drew, goodness, on, oh, I'm not going to be able to get it to go. Hang on. No, I don't want to go way down there. I want to go, this is the one I want. Now, I'm keying off this right here. It's just a continuation of that same window. How close can I get it? I don't know, but I'll try. So people always say, how far back do you have to look? As far as you need to. So that's got to come down a little bit. So it's got to get below the low of that candle. Okay. So now I'm straddling. Maybe I can go back up. Just, oh, I moved the zone. Don't do that, Dwayne. You know what? I'll go ahead and move it out of the way. Get this positioned how I want it. Now the zone 60.33. So we can't be down that low. Gonna have to come up. Now where's the low? Alright, let me get this back in the right place. Okay, so we're hugging the zone pretty tight. We got to, because we got to get below this low right here. So maybe 60.36. Now the zone 60.33/34. So this window would be 36 to 34. Okay, so just remember that in case I forget tomorrow. So we got a long window, we got a short window. Now all we got to do is wait for price to get there. And when price gets there, you whip out your range chart to make your entry with surgical precision. Okay, all right, on the Dow, our long window of opportunity would be up here. Now it takes 20 points to get your goal for the day. So 42,930 to 42,950. Okay, that's enough to get your goal for the day. On the short side, I'm going to go here and I'm going to drop it down to there. So you got a long window, got a short window. Okay, may not fill till tomorrow or overnight. That's okay. You already know where the opportunity is. Plan your work ahead of time. Now the Russell, we already discussed, got hung up. Our short window filled last night that we drew live yesterday. So our long window is going to be up here. Should be basically 2046 to 2048. 2046, 2048. 2 points goal for the day. And down here, I'm going to do that. Okay. Oh, need to drop that a little bit. Yep. So we'll make sure it's got 2 points in it. The zone's 2117/18. So you're going to have to sell 20. What's this low? That's a tight one, okay? 2020 to 2018. Remember that, 2020 to 2018. NQ. Well, the long one's pretty simple. Now, the NQ, it didn't take a lot. Okay, you'd go long at roughly 155 up to 170. Could you go 175? Yeah, you could. Okay. So from 55 to 75, that's 20 points at $20 a point. It's $400 per contract traded. Right there. That's on the long side. Is there anything I like on the short side? Yeah. See, all these people that tell you about how they got this secret that nobody knows, all that garbage. How much money have you wasted on that kind of nonsense? Okay. So on the short side, you'd be getting short at about 917 down to 901. So that's 16 points at $20 a point. That's $320 per contract traded. Okay. Crude. Crude, don't be rude. All right. Okay. That's roughly 75.25 to 76.25. That's $1. That's $1,000 per contract traded. And if crude for some reason chose to sell off, maybe they start talking about a peace deal, then you'd be selling 71.80 down to 71.50. That's $300 per contract traded. Gold, low gold. You only need a $1 move. Okay. Now the zones 34.15 to 34.16. So actually 34, we'll call it 34.13 to 34.15. That's $200 per contract traded. And if gold starts to sell off today, tonight, got to bring that down a smidge. So now we're talking 33.94 down to 33.90. That's $400 per contract traded. And you say, well, what if it doesn't drop? Well, it doesn't drop. It didn't cost you anything to find where the opportunity is. Price doesn't go there, it doesn't go there. Now with red and falling up here and this huge move we've had in silver, I suspect price could trade through the BVC. You only need 2 pennies in silver. So selling 36.96 down to 36.90. That would be 6 pennies. That would be $300 per contract traded. Now you got basically a triple top up here. Again, you want to get to this area, then whip out your range chart so that you enter properly with a proper trade setup. So there, in what, 5 minutes, we just found long and short targets or windows of opportunity on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different markets. Do you need to trade 7 markets? No. You can just pick one market and stay with it. Some people just trade the ES. Some people just trade gold or crude or whatever. If you find a market that you have just like some kind of natural affinity with, trade that. In the room in the morning when Michael has 4 charts up, he's not trying to teach you to trade 4 markets at the same time. But because the training room is limited to 2 hours a day, he wants to show you as many good trade setups as possible. So that's why he has 4 charts out. It's not an encouragement. Now, we talked at the beginning of the broadcast about price potentially heading back down to major support. Because there's no red and falling involved yet, I don't think we go below the BBC today, but maybe overnight. Like when the markets reopen tonight, if we've come all the way back to the BBC, then we might have a little bit of red and falling. And if we got some red and falling, we could trade through. Just remember, you got potential support right here at about 58.22. And then, see where the step line crossed right there? That's an important price, important area. 56.82. And then the bullish cross, 55.32. Now, sure you want to know how you can learn all this. Go to mytradingiq.com. Watch the videos, read the content, and when you're ready, send an email to support@cfrn.net. And just say, I want to become a member. Valerie will send you an email, an info packed email, that explains everything it means to become a passport holder. Number 1, you're going to get 2 hours of live training every trading day. Real trades with real money and live markets. Michael explains every trade he takes, the reason why, and you see the results live in real time. We don't sweep anything under the carpet. Okay? And it's an interactive environment, so you're trading along in your demo account as you learn the strategy so you can actually go live. And then you ask every question that pops into your head. Pretty soon you'll find yourself asking the same question for a second or third time. And as soon as you ask it, you realize, oh, I know the answer to that. And then Michael will give you the exact same answer he gave you the last time and the time before. And your questions are never an interruption. It's the purpose, okay? You see, when Futures Magazine published this article back in 2006, that 9 out of 10 new traders fail, they didn't say why. They just gave the bleak statistics. So I went on a hunt to find out why. Inquiring minds want to know. And I quickly figured it out. There was nobody to teach you how to trade. The guys that knew how to trade, okay, they weren't about to give away their secrets. So we found a gaping hole in the financial markets. We plugged it. Along with 2 hours of group training every day, as a passport holder, you get private one-on-one mentoring. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder, they're fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETFs, it doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. As from support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, as I showed you when I went through all of those markets in a granular fashion today. As a passport holder, you're going to get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. You get the concierge trade alerts the second they're published each evening, typically 5 minutes before the market opens. Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern, you get the weekly trading zones. We've published those zones for our members for the last 15 and a half years. And then on Thursday afternoons, you'll get an invitation to the members only workshop, which is held every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you're going to get the golden key that opens all the private channels in Telegram. When you're on the trial, you have access to the public channels, which allows you to interact and talk with our traders. People who once, like you, were sick and tired of blowing up accounts and just really wish somebody could teach them how to trade. We let you mix and mingle with our traders. Because while some people are still just in the learning stage, anybody that's in there, they're doing okay. And they'll share with you the process they went through, how long it took, all that. That's what everybody wants to know. How long is it going to take before I'm raking in the big bucks? Well, that's different for everybody. But we have enough confidence in what we do and what we teach to let you talk with our traders before you spend a dime. That's got to say something to you. Okay? Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Okay, it's that time for our good word for the day, so we can wrap it up. Don't look at Christians, look at Christ. John 21:21. Lord, what about him? One day Peter looked at John and asked Jesus, Lord, what about him? Jesus answered, what is that to you? You must follow me. When others disappoint you, remember that you have disappointed others. When others give you bad advice, remember that you've given others bad advice. There's only one person who won't disappoint you and will always point you in the right direction. Jesus. He doesn't merely know the way, he is the way. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. John 8:12. Now, you know who's done more damage to Christians than anybody else in the world? Other Christians, or the church. It's full of them. You might be someone who you went to church and you were faithful and you served and you tithed, but somebody did something horrendous to you, or the pastor did something. Now, maybe they really wronged you, or maybe you just got thin skin. I don't know. But the church, we think of it as a building, right? Maybe it's got a steeple, maybe it's got a little stained glass. The Bible teaches that we are the church. That place you go every Sunday that you call church, that's just a building, okay? Scripture tells us to forsake not the gathering of the brethren. You're going to be the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time around. We're like a sponge. We just soak it up. There's a popular book out about that very fact. And it's not a Christian book. It's just talking about the fact that you will become the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Why wasn't it 4? Why wasn't it 6? I don't know. The guy that wrote the book, was it Seth Godin? I don't know. He called it 5. But it's a good book, okay? So, don't get wounded by the church. I'm doing air quotes here. If you follow just Jesus, if that's the person you're trying to work for or impress. And really, you don't need to impress God. You just need to follow Jesus. The person at my church that I used to report to, I think I might have told you guys this the other day, or I was talking to my wife, I think. I found myself guilty. Even though I'm a man of a certain age, I've pastored a church, done lots of preaching, all that. But the church that we go to now, CCV, the head of guest services is the person I reported to. And he anointed me the head usher. Oh my. Anyway, I was always trying to do things to show him, how dedicated I was. I never missed. I was always on time, and I did things that were even part of my job description just to show that, I'm all in. And then we're gathering in our prayer huddle before the service one day, and he just goes, "Oh, by the way, guys, I'm leaving." I'm like, "What? What do you mean you're leaving?" "Yeah, I'm moving to Florida. Got a house down there. Blah blah blah." I was in shock, and the Holy Spirit revealed to me I had spent over a year trying to impress this guy, right? When the whole time I should have just been working unto God, not man. Now I'm just ripping a page out of my own life to hopefully help you see. Now, whether it's at church or at your civilian job or even your military job or whatever, okay, just remember that you're working for God. As long as you can please God, it doesn't matter what other people think. All that matters is what God thinks. When you follow even the best of Christians, they will sometimes cause you to stumble or be confused. But when you follow Jesus, he will illuminate every step you take. Christ's own disciples would have disappointed you. Peter was racially biased and sometimes honored Jews over Gentiles. James and John wanted to call down fire from heaven on those in a village that refused them overnight accommodation. Thomas doubted the truth of the resurrection and said, "Unless I feel the imprint of the nails in his hands, I will not believe he's alive." John 20:25. Yes, it's true. People will disappoint you. But the good news, Jesus won't. That's why the Bible says in Hebrews 12:1, "Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith." The only people who can let you down are the people you lean on. So the word for today is lean less on people and more on Jesus. Stop looking at other Christians and look at Christ. That's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.